Content warning. Tone Deaf is rated explicit for mature content and strong language. Spoilers are in every episode, so if you haven't seen the shows we are reviewing, you can always check back in later with us. We'll be here when you get back.
Welcome to Tone Deaf, a theater nerd's guide for their musically challenged spouse. I'm Kay, a musical theater nerd.
And I'm Warren, I'm musically challenged.
And we've got an extra special guest today. We have Ned Donovan from Encounter Party, as well as from the Hunted Encore, which I still am freaking out about.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us, Ned. We are here We're so excited to have you.
I'm very excited to be here, and I think it's the first time anyone's described me as extra special. So that's exciting to me.
Oh, you're very extra special. Like,
Yes.
It was so funny though, like we were nerding out when we were watching the Hunted Encore and stuff and just being like, we know that guy. We know him. We've talked to him.
We know him.
I have this very specific rule in life, which is when you produce your own content and you do it under production company names that you get to take your name off the content, then when you hire yourself, you get to look like a way cooler actor than you are.
Hey, I mean, that makes sense. There's logic behind that. I approve of that, because if I had something, it'd just be the Warren Company, produced by Warren, directed by Warren. I mean, our award show is called The Warrens, so...
Nailed it. I mean, look, you've now said it enough that I feel like your production company has to be War and Peace, and then it's just you giving the middle finger to a Tolstoy picture.
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
That's fantastic. That's just me all over, too. It's like, we need to love one another and learn to get along, but fuck this asshole right over here.
Like this guy who wrote the book about it, that guy sucks.
Yes.
Oh, so thank you so much again for joining us, Ned. And I really wanted to know, how did you come to learn about Guys of Ice and then direct us to it?
So I spent most of my career as a professional musical theater actor all over the country. And one of the theaters that I worked at a lot is called the Fireside in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. Big fan of them. Hi, guys, if you're listening. And I worked with them first in 2012, and then they brought me back at the end of 2013. And then in 2014, I had been doing a production of White Christmas, and I came back to New York where I had a really good side gig that allowed me to pay my bills, which is rare when you're an actor in New York, and it wasn't a restaurant, which meant that I wasn't working terrible hours. And like a week after I got back, the company fired all of us, and I found myself like very broke and very without a job and really not sure what I was going to be doing with my life at that exact moment. And I went to an audition for All Shook Up at the Fireside, and I desperately wanted to be in All Shook Up. It's one of my favorite musicals of all time. And while I was there, I auditioned, and the artistic director, Ed Flesh, looked at me and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like right now, are you employed? And I was like, "I'm remarkably unemployed." And he was like, "How quickly could you be on a plane?" And I was like, "Tomorrow?" And he was like, "That's the right answer." And so that weekend, I got offered the male understudy to all three dudes in The Wizard of Oz at Fireside and a role in the ensemble with a guaranteed Tin Man performance. And so I flew out to Wisconsin out of nowhere on a 10-week contract, which was great for me because I was like, that's 10 weeks. I don't have to worry about the fact that I'm so broke in New York. And I got to there, and right at the end of the rehearsal process, I got offered All Shook Up. So my contract got extended from a 10-week contract to a 20-week contract. And then so I was like, great, I'm going to be here through the spring. Everything's awesome. And now fast forward to like rehearsals for All Shook Up. and they were doing later in the fall West Side Story. Now, I probably shouldn't be in a production of West Side Story. I am very Irish and French, and I look like I walked out of Dublin, and but without the positive traits to that. And I had been asked to audition, so I was prepping my audition and singing songs, and I asked the company, I was like, hey, when are the auditions for West Side Story? Because, we're all going to be going back to New York not too long from now, and I want to, if we're going to know what's happening, I'd love to audition while I'm here. And the artistic director was like, well, what are you worried about? You're not going anywhere. And I was like, what? Yeah, my contract's up. And he was like, well, we need an offstage understudy for Guys on Ice. And I was like, okay, we should talk about that. And then we didn't talk about that. And so I was like, cool. And so then I asked again, like, when are the West Side Story auditions going to be? And he was like, what does it matter? You're going to be here. And I was like, why? Why am I going to be here? And then we never talked about it. And then like a little later, he was like, hey, I have a contract for you for Guys on Ice. And I was like, okay, but we still haven't talked about what is Guys on Ice? And he was like, oh, and he like took me through this show. And I was like, and what are you offering me? And he was like, it's the offstage understudy to all three of the guys. And I was like, so I don't perform? And he's like, no, you're just kind of on call. You have one understudy rehearsal a week. And I did the math, and it was going to get me to the perfect amount of weeks for me to earn entrance into the theater union, the Actors Equity Association.
Nice.
And so I was like, screw it. I'll take 10 more weeks in Wisconsin to just like hang out, I guess. And so the Fireside has 2 cast houses, and I'd lived there many times, and I lived there with a lot of people, right? Because I'm doing 20, 30 people shows. I don't know if you noticed, but Guys on Ice is 3 people. And they hired 3 locals. So what ended up happening was I was the only out of area actor, and I lived by myself in a 10-person cast house, not performing for 10 weeks because none of the guys ever called out, and just got my equity card. And that's how I learned about Guys on Ice.
Hey, it sounds like you got a 10-week vacation.
I got a 10-week paid vacation. I had 10 weeks where I had to show up at the theater at half hour. At the overture, I was cleared to leave. I had to stay within 15 minutes of the theater, but I didn't have a car because I'm from New York and they don't rent you a car at the theater. So I just like biked everywhere. So I just had to stay within a 15-minute bike of the theater, and my gym was a 15-minute bike from the theater. So I would just like go to the theater, check in, the show would start. I'd like wave goodbye to the stage management crew who I had spent the previous 20 weeks working with very closely. And then I would just like go to the gym and hope that no one got hurt. And that was my contract. And once a week on Wednesdays, I had to come do an understudy rehearsal where I performed all 3 roles for an entire run of the show.
God.
So I do have a question about that. Do you just stand in one, like, do you literally play all 3 people, and do you just look like a schizophrenic having a conversation with yourself? Like, how does that work?
The first time we did the show, yes. And the way it worked was one of the stage managers, Casey Steinbeck. Hey, Casey, if you're listening, she would come and she would stand in the place of whatever character I had to interact with in that scene. And I would do both sets of lines from wherever I was standing, and I would only walk the track of one of the characters. And then I would do it over and over again. So I would have basically run the show 3 times. And then I was like, guys, this is terrible. Can we not do this? So then I started doing understudy rehearsals twice a week, but I would just do one role, and I would just alternate each time. So like I'd come in once as one guy, once as the other, and then the first rehearsal of the next week I'd do the 3rd character, and then we'd do it all over again until the show was done.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it, the show's, about an hour, so it's like if you're running, well, it probably doesn't take I don't know. I don't know how long it would take to run the show as one character
it was like
3
a
times.
3-hour marathon. Yeah, it was like it was like doing Jean Valjean, but for nobody and for no purpose.
Okay, totally gets that, and I'm just like, what about Johnny Be Good? Like,
Oh
God. Shout out to Johnny Be Good. Remember when they made a movie that everyone loved that said that white people wrote Johnny Be Good and we were all supposed to be okay with it? Shout out to Back in the Future.
So in our Les Mis episode, I don't call anybody by their name because it's French and I don't mesh well with French words. So Jean Valjean is just Johnny Be Good to me.
Shout out for another episode you have to do. Please add a bonus episode of Les Miserables, the Animaniacs parody of Les Mis.
Yes. We're actually thinking of doing a whole thing on Animaniacs anyway, because it's musical theater.
I must have missed that episode back in the day.
It's so good.
You did not. You just didn't know what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably the case. It's like the West Side Story one. With
it's a Rita and Runt episode.
Yeah.
And it's a mashup of Les Mis and Sweeney Todd about a French baker baking cats into pies.
It's so
that
good.
Sounds amazing.
And then they get freed by Runt Val Runt.
I love that.
Great.
Oh my god. Oh, Animaniacs. Oh, love Animaniacs.
I've already tangented us twice. Sorry, gang.
Hey, okay, I mean, we are Tangent, the podcast that occasionally talks about musical theater.
Yes.
So,
yes.
But that's a very wild and intricate story of how you came to know Guys on Ice.
I talk about it all the time to this day. And because I talk about it, I would like to preface this by saying I had a wonderful contract. I loved absolutely everyone I got to work with, including Steve Kaler. I don't remember how to pronounce his last name. Sorry, Steve. But he was in the video version you saw. He played the same role in my production. I loved everything about the contract. I found myself stumped at times, I will be honest, because I was raised as like a fancy musical theater boy from like one of those conservatories where you take art very seriously. And I had done Once Upon a Mattress at this same theater in one of the greatest productions I've ever had the pleasure of being a part of. And it didn't sell very well. And that was hard. We had performances where we were performing to like a 15% audience of like a sleeping tour bus group. But Guys on Ice sold at like a 99% capacity. And it is a large, I think roughly 600 seat in the round theater. And it was wild to me to be in a production of a show that like my bougie ass was like sitting there being like, Guys on Ice is like a weird parody theater, but it's not the theater. And having it be the most successful thing I'd ever been a part of. That was a wild, humbling moment for me.
I can imagine. I can imagine because same kind of thing when we were watching the movie initially. You know, it's kind of does this intro and it just interviews with the cast and stuff and some of the audience and people talking about that they see the show every year. They've seen it for 15 years and just how much they love this show and they bring the whole family. You know, oh my granddaughter is in the front seat. You know, the front row and it was baffling to me. I feel like, I don't know, just ice fishing is such an interesting premise. I mean, granted, it makes more sense that it's what is it? Waiting for
Godot.
Waiting for Godot, yes.
Which, like, is never addressed anywhere. Like, when you license the show, it doesn't say it's Waiting for Godot. I have questions as an artist about that choice. That being said, I think it is proof positive to the power of not just regional theater, but writing content that's not intended for a global audience. Like, you have to sort of... When you write for a global audience, everything gets so vanilla sometimes. Like, you can't really make intricate, very specific art because, like, very specific is contingent on the culture you're talking to being understanding that specific. And so, like, a lot of times you get these, like, tentpole things that are, like, full of adventure but not heart. And, like, Guys on Ice is proof of the opposite. Like, if you just create a piece of art that is hyper focused on a very regional space, it can be unbelievably successful.
Yeah, it's like Saturday's Voyeur here.
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah, you
What
want to
is
talk?
that?
Yeah.
So, to preface, there is a Mormon musical.
Oh,
I
sure.
don't know if you've heard of it, called Saturday's Warrior.
I haven't.
And
But I do know the Mormon musicals of upstate New York, so I understand conceptually.
Yeah, it is a interesting show. I don't want to give spoilers because we're going to try to cover the original VHS version of it next year because I found it again.
Oh boy.
Is it one of those massive budget spectacle musicals that are done by religious groups sometimes?
It's a pretty low budget one, but it's every Mormon knows about it. And they
sure.
did do a remake a couple of years ago that just it took all the heart out of it. Because it's one of those shows that it almost converted me.
Oh, sure.
Oh, so it's propaganda. Gotcha.
It's propaganda.
Yeah.
They made the wise choice of having Heavenly Mother be black.
Oh.
And me being a little black kid watching it went, oh, you don't hate me. How much I was fooled. But we have this theater company in Salt Lake City called Salt Lake Acting Company. And they're sort of the subversive theater company here. So, like, they allow you to bring alcohol into the theater. They do picnics. They do a lot of LGBT positive plays. They do a lot of... Last year they did a couple of heavily black cast plays. And every year up until this year, because of coronavirus, and last year it turns out was the last year they were going to do it, they would do this variety show kind of called Saturday's Voyeur. And it was sort of a satire at things that were going on in Utah at the time, either politics or culture or what have you. Last year it was very much like a Bird Box parody.
Okay.
Yeah.
But with dealing with Trumpism, and they had a great little song about correct pronouns for non-binary people and stuff, because that was the first year that they included non-binary cast members and were like, hey, we have non-binary cast members. And but it's a very regional show and it's very popular.
I am bummed that last year was the last year they planned on doing it, because I absolutely love watching them punch up at the
theocracy.
At the theocracy. So,
but it was a musical that they would do every year, and sometimes they would add in original music. Usually it was parodies, but that one it would change every year to be something new.
Isn't Pioneer out in Salt Lake City? Pioneer Theater Company?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've auditioned for them a few times.
Yeah, they're an interesting theater company.
Did you work with them?
I didn't.
Okay.
I auditioned for them once, but I don't know that I was old enough for any of the parts in the show, because it was that period of time where I could look like I was 20, even though I was 14.
Yes.
And then it flipped, and now I look 14, even though I'm 30, 32. How old am I?
I haven't looked 14 since I was like 9. I made my entire career through school playing all the adults, and then I graduated and went into a career of understudy to adults while appearing as a air quote teenager in the ensemble. I've had a hairline since I was like 12, so it really put the kibosh on my like look in 20s ages. And they'd always be like, we need you to look 23. And I'd be like, I am 23. Like, I look like a 23-year-old because I am one.
Oh, God.
And they never accepted that as an excuse.
God, I feel that. I feel that so hard.
Like, what do you mean I don't look 23? I am 23. Therefore, 23-year-olds look like this. Anyway.
I say 23-year-olds don't look like 23-year-olds on stage. You got to get 43-year-olds.
Side tangent. Twice now I've been in final rounds for like TV roles that end up going to like in my second or third rounds of callbacks, they rewrite the role to be like 20 years older. So I was up for this TV show that'll go unnamed, but I played like a mob member who was in jail. And so in my first one, I went through and it was really great. And I used to do stunts. So like, I was like in a good spot for like the fight scene. And then I came back and they were like, okay, so update. The character now has a 16-year-old son and you're a 25-year veteran of the mob. And I was like, I'm 27 years old. Like,
oh my God.
In what world should I play this character anymore? And it happened twice. Like both times they were like, okay, so now you are, you have a kid. And I'm like, cool. How old are they? And they're like late high school. And I'll be like, I'm 6 years out of high school. So like, there's a math problem.
Oh my God. Hollywood is weird.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Oh my hell.
Man.
But yeah, no, it was one of those things that, it definitely is like regional theater can do so remarkably well. You're completely right on that like zeroing in on something that just that region gets. Because we have that with Utah, with stuff that only Utahns get is wildly successful here. Book of Mormon was surprisingly successful here.
Yeah, because not only did it punch up at Mormons, but it had a bunch of in-jokes for Mormons that only Mormons were going to get.
Well, and also just, and also just people who live in the culture that aren't Mormon, because that was a thing too. And it was funny is going to see that in Utah and the church putting ads in there being like, you've seen the show, now read the book. And we're just like, uh-huh.
Well, like, good for them also, like, shoot your shot.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, why not? They're taking out multiple full-page ads, but yeah. Okay, so now that we've had our wonderful talk with Ned, I think that we should take a quick break to thank our wonderful patrons before we get into my poorly worded notes about this ice fishing extravaganza.
All right, let's go, and then we'll be back to have Warren present his book report to Ned.
Be
Hell
gentle,
yeah.
Ned. Be gentle.
Hey, Warren.
Hey, Kay.
Do you know what time it is?
Is it time to thank our favorite people in the whole world?
Heck yeah! Today, we would like to thank our stage crew sponsor, Jasmine Wu,
And our producer circle sponsors, Bianucci, Reagan, and Taylor Brandt.
Thank you all so much for your support of our show.
We truly appreciate it.
Many hundreds of years ago, in the faraway land of the North, there dwelt a special kind of magic. The magic of imagination. And nowhere did this light shine brighter than in the heart of a kindly toy maker named Nicholas Kringle. The toy maker loved children, most of all his own son, whom he named Chris. But the land was ruled by a wicked snow queen.
You cannot escape from me, Toymaker's son.
I assure you, young Master Kringle, that we elves are very real, and we shall teach you to make toys which will bring happiness to children all over the world.
Young Santa Claus and the Winter Solstice. Written and directed by Patrick and Paul Gibbs.
And now, the lights are going down and the music's starting back up, so let's head back to the second act of our show. And now, what did you think of Guys on Ice, Warren?
I enjoyed it, and I didn't think I would.
No, I saw that coming. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I thought you were going to love this.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed it because just the fact that, I mean, I'm fine with small cast shows. There's nothing, that off-putting about that.
Mhm.
But just the fact that it was ice fishing, I was like, I'm not much of a fisherman. I go with Kay fishing to like keep them company, and now that we have a dog, it'll be to walk the dog around.
Yeah.
But Kay's the fisher out of the two of us, and I was just kind of like, so these guys are sitting in a box fishing through the ice and waiting for a TV personality
Who may or may
Cool.
not be named Godot.
Yes.
But yeah, it was surprised how charming the show was, and it made me laugh. There's plenty of Wisconsin humor that I am not privy to,
Mhm.
Sure.
for obvious reasons, but
I had to do a ton of research. I was reading the script and I would go to like locals at the bar and be like, can someone explain what's happening?
So, like, how was that? Were people more than happy to share that information with you, or were they like,
No, let me tell you, small town theaters, there's no better place to be an actor because one, like, people think you're royalty and I really appreciate them for that, but I'll like go to the bar to watch football and they'll be like, you watch football like I do? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm also broke like you are. Like, both of those are true. But yeah, they were all great. Like they would take me through the jokes, or like I'd let them read something and they'd start laughing and I'd be like, cool, why are you laughing?
why is that funny?
I don't understand. So it was great, but it definitely, like, look, I'm a Maine boy, so like I'm a New Englander through and through. I am not a New Yorker, but like Maine and Wisconsin, despite having similar latitudes, don't have similar cultures.
Yeah. Very different.
I am so not worldly. I probably need to travel this country a little bit more and see the culture, because I don't leave the house, especially this year.
Well, there's a pandemic.
Yeah.
Even before then, I'm not. Kay, it's a good thing that Kay has traveled the world before they met me, because it's back and forth between the computer and the couch for me. So,
Like when Mama Kay and I kidnapped you and took you to Provo one day and then took you up to Brigham City.
I haven't even been around my own state that much. I'm just like, well, I'm what you call indoorsy.
Sure.
Which is okay.
So, our show opens up as a harmonica serenades us as we see a painted background of a frozen lake with scattered little shacks. We are then treated to a behind-the-scenes montage of people creating the sets and rehearsing the show. We learn that it's a Wisconsin tradition and a beloved local production. As the show begins, we have a weather report on the radio stating that the ice is thick and the roads are slick, so be careful out there. As the weather report ends, one of our unknown at this point main characters tells the audience that when there is snow everywhere, he likes nothing better than to grab his pole and stick it in the wishing hole. This wishing hole is apparently the best place in all of the Midwest. Who needs church when you're catching a perch? Our second main character wakes up and complains about his wife, his life, his thinning hair, and his plumping midsection. Which, I mean, I can agree with a couple of those things. Our two main characters seem to have conflicting points of view on life its many, many joys. Lloyd and Marvin, they are called. Lloyd is the pessimist, and Marvin is the pole in the cold hole enthusiast.
I just want to pause real quick and say that I have the dumbest smile plastered on my face, which is
I am so glad.
how good this show is. Like, I have such fond memories I didn't realize I had, but the moment my head started going, there's a place that I go when the world's deep in snow, buy some bait, grab my pole, head out to the wishing hole, I immediately was like, oh my god, I love this, keep going.
Right, it's just
It's so
the show was
good.
so charming. I
It's so
did not
nice.
expect it to be as charming as it
Yes.
was.
Yes.
I
Oh
forgot
my
their
God.
names. Spoilers. I literally haven't seen what you're talking about. I only know my production. So I forgot their names. I don't have the script anymore, so I couldn't like do a refresher. So I'm actually like relearning the show through your eyes, and that is glorious.
You know what's funny is thinking about it. I bet you probably played a hilarious moocher.
Ernie?
Ernie the
Ernie
moocher.
the Mooch.
Yes.
Which I just refer to him as Mooch in my notes.
Ernie to Mooch was hard for me because I don't play instruments, and I figured out the harmonica, but our version, Paul Helm, is a extremely talented and beloved music director who plays like 12 instruments. And as Ernie to Mooch, he played the accordion, and I was like, you guys know if I go on for that role, I'm not gonna play this, right? We don't have an orchestra.
That's fantastic. Oh God. Okay. Now when I
she is.
Oh yes, Latte wants to come say hi to Ned.
Hello. Okay. So we've now met Marvin and Lloyd. Lloyd is played by Steve Kaler, who was in my production as Lloyd as well.
Okay, so that's the same one. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so Marvin calls Lloyd to talk about the Green Bay Packers. And also, Marvin is apparently going to be guesting on a TV show that he wants his bestest buddy Lloyd to be on there with him. Even though Lloyd was trash-talking the host of the show with such slanderous accusations as, he doesn't even fish those fish on his show. Notice how they're not moving when he pulls them out. But Lloyd still seems titillated by the prospect of being on TV, airing right before Wheel of Fortune and Vanna. Lloyd quickly quits pitching his tent when Marvin asks if Lloyd needs to consult his wife first. Marvin doesn't want to upset the balance, and based on context, Lloyd's ball and chain seems to keep a tight hold on him. So, I don't know. That part tickled me when they're just initially, he's like, it's going to be on before Wheel of Fortune.
On the TV.
On the TV. And Vanna. And just...
I love that accusation, though.
Yeah, he doesn't even fish those fish himself.
I used to watch those shows.
I think they catched them in advance and then put them back there in the water.
You see, exactly.
That's how I would feel.
Yeah. I'd be like, you can't tell me how to fish when you didn't even fish that fish you said you fished. They've got the stagehands that are going to do the fishing for them. It's like you see the baking shows and somebody else baked that. Yeah, that's my Midwesterner. I don't know what the hell that kind of accent was.
I apologize to the Midwest on behalf of Warren.
And this is why I keep telling Warren we are Mountain West, not Midwest.
Sure, yeah.
I have to remember to say the T's when I say mountain.
Yes.
You don't just go with mountain?
Oh, we do. That's the joke. And so I have to try and say the whole word.
Oh, yeah. I used to have a thick New England accent. Then I went to college for musical theater, and they beat it out of me.
Mm-hmm.
So what's a New England accent?
I actually can't do one anymore.
Because they had to beat it out of you.
That's actually like the polite version of the story. The longer version of the story is that when I was a very little kid, my dad had a job down on the docks, and instead of go to daycare, I would go with him, and I learned English from listening to Maine fishermen, and I developed this very thick Maine accent, and both my parents were kind of educational master's degree snobs and were absolutely not, and they put me through speech therapy as a kid, and that's actually what kind of kicked it out of me. And so the only way to get me to actually figure out how to do a New England accent is to have me hang out with a bunch of New Englanders with the accent or get me drunk. Those are the only options.
Oh my god.
Well, one will probably be easier than the other at this point.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Okay. So Lloyd, however, insists that he does not need to ask his wife for permission because he's a grown-ass man and he can eat as many waffles as he damn well wants. Marital strife aside,
the frozen waffles.
Yeah, frozen waffles. Yeah. Frozen waffles with syrup. Maybe some strawberries, whipped cream. That's maybe a little bit better. I don't know. I am not an actor. I only play a fool on a podcast. Marital strife aside, the two agree to meet at the wishing hole to play with their poles. There's some pole humor in this.
I thought that might be coming.
Yeah. Poles usually do.
Yeah.
The duo meet up at the wishing shack on top of the wishing hole and start unpacking their day bags. Beer, coffee, venison jerky, ice scooper. Lloyd asks Marvin if he's going to clean up his shack or not. You know, for the TV people. Martin insists that the TV people want to see this everyman in his everyman habitat. Lloyd convinces Marvin to put his best foot forward and tidy up a bit for the TV folks. Martin inquires about Lloyd's home life and how things are with the wife. And, yeah?
Well,
Not so
you know.
good, eh?
Yeah.
That scene particularly makes me laugh because it's kind of a trope, kind of like among straight men that, like, when they talk about stuff, they can speak volumes with very little actually said. It's like, how are things going? It's like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Anyways, the two crack some fishing jokes and continue setting up for their TV fishing spotlight. Lloyd asks if Marvin will divulge all of his tips and tricks, and Marvin reveals that his master plan, he's aiming to be a reoccurring guest on the show, because if he can make that happen, then he'll be able to get things like free beer and discounts and a date with Bonnie from the Pick and Save.
From the Pick and Save.
That girl that they say has a Packers tattoo on her, well, yeah. Marvin gets a little excited and launches into a song about how he can be the guy from TV. Life will be sweet. Discounts, freebies, and getting to see Bonnie's hidden tattoo, because he's the guy from TV. Do you still remember the songs?
That is one that I no. The short answer is I remember some of the songs. That's the song that I remember conceptually as a plot device, but I don't remember the song itself, no. The guy from TV now is very much a thing that I'm remembering. I'm remembering Rick Penzick, who played Marvin, up on a crate with his arms out wide singing
Yes.
Me from TV. Also, our production was in the round, so it was a little different than how you would have seen it in the proscenium filming version.
Yeah.
What does in the round mean?
Audience on four sides.
Like Hale Theater.
Okay. Contextually, I thought that I understood, but at the same time, musically challenged.
No worries.
No, don't you worry. But yes, I remember a dimming of the lights and a spotlight on Rick up on a crate while the revolve at the center turned so that the audience could see him at all angles.
I feel like that would make me sick if I was on a stage that was rotating.
You get used to it.
Yeah, then the audience can see me vomit from all four sides.
From all angles.
Just pray that it doesn't, like, go down and then come back up and catch a stagehand's ear.
It's never done that, but it does. We did that frequently throughout the production so that the cast could go take bathroom breaks.
Yeah, production K was in. It was one of the nights that you were off, right? But
thank God,
but somebody got their ear caught in a moving stage.
No,
crushed his jaw, crushed his chest. His ear came with the... Yeah, it was during Aida, during the Dance of the Robe.
No.
And one of the actors said that he thought that the guy's head got cut off. And so he was preparing to catch the head with the robe to keep our Aida from seeing it. And then, luckily...
I think Ned now has a new fear next time he's in.
No. I already hate freight elevators.
Yeah, and it was because the sensors were weird because they added a second part onto the top of the stage, like a plexiglass thing, and it didn't. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. Let's just move it right along.
I apologize, Ned. But that tickles me. That's gonna stay with me. Just so you know, I'll be thinking about that.
Okay.
He's like, yes, I will too, you asshole.
It is deep in my brain.
Every time now.
Okay. Now next time you'll be doing something like, God damn you, Warren.
No, that one's my fault.
I know, but I'm the one that brought it up.
I'm gonna blame it on Warren for sure.
See? That's my job. I gotta deflect blame from Kay and absorb it all.
And you do it so well.
Right? It's my husbandly duty. Okay, so Marvin tells Lloyd that this will be his second time on TV. He had some reaction shots where he had such compelling lines as, yeah, uh-huh, and Marvin mentions that people said he looked good on TV, like a heavier George Clooney. As we all know, the TV makes you look fatter, which is why Marvin is wearing less layers today. Lloyd gets self-conscious about looking fat on TV and starts to strip down. Woohoo! It's getting hot in here, so take off all Lloyd's clothes. Marvin tells Lloyd that he looks great and that snowmobile suit makes him look thin. Lloyd is like, can you believe the wife wanted me to get rid of it? How dare she? And they sing about how amazing snowmobile suits are and how they make a fat slob look like a superhero.
Let's just take a quick pause and talk about an ode to my snowmobile suit, because that song is what I remember the most from doing the show.
Yeah.
Because that was the song that the like deep-seated musical theater artist in me was like, what am I doing with my life? And like Fred Alley, don't take any of this offensively. I promise that I was wrong in those feelings. But at the time, I was like, this is a thing that someone approved that I have to sing on a stage, and I don't know that I can do it. And it was really a rough moment for me. It was really humbling to be in this moment in Guys on Ice and be like, this is musical theater. And then the part of my brain that looked at the audience eating it up and was like, yeah, it is.
This is musical theater.
The wonderful subjective nature of art. And
I rooty-toot-toot-tooty-toot-toot from the top of my head to the tip of my boot. When it's turdy below, there is no substitute for the comfort and warmth of a snowmobile suit. I remember that lyric probably till the day I die.
Oh, if I outlive you, it'll be a eulogy. It's just Ned Donovan, rooty-toot-toot.
Rooty-toot-toot-tooty-toot-toot. I was doing All Shook Up at the time I was memorizing the script, and I would like show it to my castmates that lived in the house, and they'd be like, Ned, what is it you're doing? And I'd be like, I don't know. I had done the Wizard of Oz and then the Elvis musical and then this, and I was like, I guess this is a career, and I guess I'm really happy for this, but I am confused.
The confusion is a natural state. I had experienced a lot of confusion when we were watching the show, but god damn, it was so still charming,
It's so heartfelt. And like, again, shout out to Steve Kaler. Steve, I believe, recently retired, so good for you, Steve. Congratulations. But he taught physics at an arts high school, and he did this show. Like, he would travel Wisconsin producing productions of this show. He has a production company that just exists to produce this show. I think he did his 1,000th performance as Lloyd in my production.
Wow. Insane.
And like, he made an entire career on that, and it's a beautiful thing. And I was sitting there being so judgmental, and it was without question the most successful show I've ever had the pleasure to be a part of. And it like, I can't describe how humbling it was and how much of a good lesson it was for shitty old 26-year-old Ned Donovan to like have ingrained into his body.
And now I'm looking at Lloyd completely different, going,
same
motherfucker's a physics professor?
Yeah.
Like, damn,
man,
he's like
that's
a very smart dude. He also took a thing that he used to say all the time, because most of us were younger than Steve in the production, and he would look around the dressing room and he'd be like, you motherfuckers are so young, I'm just so old. 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot on a banana peel. And I think about that all the time. I say it to people all the time, and they're like, I'm so old. I'm like, yeah, 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot on a banana peel.
I loved that.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Oh, also shout out to Steve. He's the best golden tee player I've ever known. And he's a darts shark. Like, we would go play darts, and Steve can do an entire round of darts without missing.
Wow.
So I have to ask, what is golden tee?
Oh, golden tee is the golf game in bars with like the ball that spins. Is this not a thing in Utah? It's a massive thing everywhere else. It's an arcade game. It's golf, but instead of pressing buttons, there's like a white ball that spins in all directions, and you have to spin it back and spin it forward in a straight line so you don't slice or curve the shot.
I think here it's mostly Buck Hunter.
Oh, I love Big
Yeah.
Buck Hunter. I
Bars,
have
yeah.
I have a note on my phone that tells me all the bars in New York City I've ever found with the original Big Buck Hunter, not the new one with the 3D, but that original game from the like late 90s that still have that in the corner because it's my favorite pub game.
Fantastic. Now that's the one I agree with, because I'm sitting here like I don't go to I do all my drinking at home because I don't want to deal with people.
And bars are loud.
So, oh man,
I do all my drinking at bars because it makes it seem like I have friends.
I want to say the last time that we went to a bar, it was karaoke, and too many people got excited for me singing American Pie, and I was like, I think I'm done.
Oh my god. So slight tangent, that was fantastic. We were at went to a bar for a friend's birthday, and Kay gets up and sings karaoke, and this drunk woman comes over after Kay finishes and is just like, I have been coming to this bar for years. Never have I heard someone so beautiful, and just gushes all over Kay, thanking her for their performance. And Kay is just trying to be so polite, like, thank you, strange drunk woman. Please go away.
The two things I will always talk about, man, is I don't love karaoke because I spent a good amount of my career getting paid to sing, that I feel weird going to like I feel like whenever my friends who are on national tours are like, we're going out tonight and we're going to go to karaoke, I'm like, you guys get to sing 8 shows a week for paying audiences. Like, let people who don't have a singing outlet do karaoke, please. And then like, don't just walk in and show up, people. Like, how fucking rude that you're like a Tony Award winner gonna walk into like Providence, Rhode Island karaoke and just like make everyone feel bad about themselves.
See, and I imagine that's probably what it is. They basically want to walk in there and show their big theater dick, you know?
God, it drives me up a wall. But the second thing about it that I think about, or not about that I wanted to just shout out, is that when I was in high school, so Don McLean lives in Camden Hills, Maine, and he's like one of Maine's celebrities. And I got to do a show with his daughter, Jackie, who was like one of the coolest individuals I ever got to meet at 14 years old or whatever. And I think she's making music now. Who knows? But shout out to Jackie McLean.
Absolutely.
Okay.
American Pie.
Oh.
The original singer-songwriter of American Pie, Don McLean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. In one ear, slides off my smooth brain, goes out the other.
Happy.
Anyways, after this song, the Snowmobile Suit song, the two start cracking jokes about kicking people in their ice holes and a dumb chud who tried to ice fish in a skating rink. So I assume the jokes, they don't update any of the jokes every year kind of thing. Like, I imagine that it's just part of the thing, but each production. But I have a special appreciation for dumb pun humor.
Me too.
And there were some pretty damn good ones in the show. So
yes.
There's a bunch of fish puns in there.
Yes. Dear God.
I did like that one about there's no fish in there. It turns out he's trying to fish in an ice skating rink.
There's a few I believe there are points in the script that it tells you can update to like nearby town or like local celebrity. Like, there are things you can do to personalize it to the wherever it's being performed, but the script itself is locked.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like the script for Godspell.
Gotcha.
Is pretty locked too.
Well, the story of Jesus is pretty locked.
Yeah.
You know, like we know what happened. The spoilers, dude dies.
Whoa, dude, I haven't finished the book yet. I mean, come on.
Wow.
Spoilers.
Didn't we talk earlier about how you were going to make your way through War and Peace? Sorry, dude. You got a ways to go.
Okay, so yes, the two guys are making jokes about kicking people in their ice holes. Tells a joke about a guy who tried to fish in a skating rink. I bet you copious amounts of alcohol were involved with that one. Lloyd ducks out of the shack to check some things and verify that global warming is still a hoax because it's currently cold outside. Lloyd comments on how some guys are getting ready for work, and those guys are losers who don't know how to fish. He then busts out his harmonica and sings a ballad about the great outdoors. Removed from society, you can see the day rise up and chase away the night. Out here, where the day begins, there is nothing but the wind. This place has great importance to Lloyd. His dad and his uncles used to come out here and be men, manly men. His dad and uncle apparently wouldn't talk to Lloyd outside of this shanty, because only this magical frozen icebox can men talk to young boys and instill in them the knowledge of what it means to be a man. Out here, where the sky begins. Lloyd continues serenading the audience with his harmonica, and we see Marvin having an imaginary conversation with Cubby, the host of the fishing show he's aiming to have change his life.
I forgot his name was Cubby. Thank
Cubby.
you.
Yeah.
I've been searching for it this whole time.
Marvin is planning all the right things to say, especially when it comes to his rugged good looks and his godlike ice fishing skills. Marvin then launches into a song about how he was born with a pole in his hand, and he's not bragging by saying that he's the best, because he's the king of the Iceman.
King of the Ice. I forgot about this song. Ah. All right.
The Ice King does his best Elvis impression as he gyrates and hip thrusts all over the scene while slow stroking his fishing pole to his own magnificence. Oh, this is one of those scenes that made me giggle a lot. Not so much the Elvis impression, but him doing like because Marvin's character is just so dumb, but he's such a good fisherman, but he's just kind of a dense motherfucker. And I'd love him having this imaginary conversation with like how he's going to talk to Cubby, about this. And then Cubby's going to be like, "Oh, you're so good looking. Have you thought about being on TV?" And he's just like, "Why, yes, I have." Just, that part made me laugh.
I also, not to gloss over it, one of the things that I constantly said in rehearsals for this show was like, this show is far more charming than it has the right to be. And
Yes.
a lot of that I gave to our cast, but also like Steve knows the role of Lloyd so inside and out that like that song that I remembered conceptually, but I didn't really remember as part of the thing. And it sort of like came back to me as I was watching from the back of the house. Usually that song is so unnecessarily pretty to be in this show. And I think it's moments like that allow this show to be as air quote dumb as it is, because it reminds you that like there is a real complexity inside the simplicity of this show that I think is very nice.
That's a really good way of putting it, that there definitely is a complexity within the simplicity. Like it comes off as simple because of how well it's done.
Because it's so earnest. And I say this, you're going to hear this on every podcast I have ever appeared on. The only thing that matters in making good content is it earnest? That's it. If people believe it is earnest and heartfelt, they'll buy into whatever bullshit you're laying down. I point to the Haunted Encore as like a perfect example of this, but Guys on Ice is a perfect representation of like, if you give people earnest, well-intentioned people inside whatever plot you want to give them and tell them to go sing a truly unacceptably nice song in a show this dumb, like it's gorgeous. And I think like, shout out to the writers of Guys on Ice.
That actually is probably my favorite song in the whole show.
Yeah,
too.
It's also the only one that never makes a pun that detracts. Like there are a couple songs in here that are meant to be ballads, but I groan, and because I groan, like it's hard for me to get into them. This one's just nice.
Yes.
So stupid question, but
stupid answer.
Yeah. So what makes a ballad a ballad? Because I think I used the term ballad, and I was like, I'm not even sure if that's technically
it was right on the money. A ballad is a slow song, generally heartfelt.
Oh, go me.
Generally a solo. Rarely do you have a ballad duet. It's generally a song of yearning.
Oh, okay. It's the I Want song.
Yes.
But a downbeat I Want song. You don't sing like a peppy, energetic ballad.
Yeah.
I am learning things. We'll see
Yeah.
if they stick to my brain or not.
Yes.
So
You used it properly, which implies to me you learned it at one point and it stuck.
oh man, if you could be a fly on the wall for some of Kay and I's conversations, and I swear that the people that live inside Kay's head are like, this is the 20th time I have told this dense motherfucker what this note means.
I did try to do a music theory lesson a little while ago, and that...
Oh, that would be advised.
You know, I think I would have an easier time learning physics than music theory.
Yeah. I have a degree that says I understand music theory, and I still don't recommend that anyone try to learn it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you, Ned. You're fantastic.
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad you're on our show.
Absolutely.
Here.
All right, so what Elvis was to rock and roll, Marvin is to the ice fishing pole.
Yeah.
Wait, did Marvin steal ice fishing from black musicians and then make it mainstream? Another question for another time, because the song's over.
I can't speak to this as a very white person from the frozen north, but what I can say is that most of the people of color that I grew up with bemoaned that they were living in a very cold, frigid place and generally avoid things like skiing and ice. So
Yeah.
So I'll at least say probably not.
I will say that ice fishing had an appeal to me on the I want to try catching this specific type of fish that you can only ice fish in Utah.
Is it the walleye?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
walleye,
I was very much like, but then I have to sit in a cold shack because it can't get warm enough for me to be comfortable and also stay on top of the ice.
So what we probably need to get you is like a heated suit to take you out ice fishing. So that way,
roughly a rooty-toot-toot-tooty-toot.
Yes, I need a rooty-toot-toot-toot heated suit.
But also, for the non-ice fishers back home, you sit in the shack, and the shack is sometimes around a hole that is fishing, or you have a hole just outside of the shack, and you're sitting in the shack to stay warm, and you just have lines in the water that have flags on them, and when something bites the line, the flag shoots up, and you know to run out of the shack and go try and catch a fish. So you really are just sitting there drinking and hoping something will happen.
Oh, okay then. I've never seen that one with the fishing outside the shack. Whenever I've seen it represented, it's always the ice hole in the shack.
Yeah, often the shacks have wooden floors, so you're not sitting on ice.
That's delightful.
That's logical.
I prefer that.
Okay, so Lloyd comes back into the shack all, "Hey, Marvin, I heard you yelling like a dying cat outside, but I see you're fine." Marvin tries to cover his embarrassment by saying that it was a huge fish, this big, so big. But then he decides that he needs to drain the coffee pot, so to speak. Marvin's pee break is cut short as Ernie the Mooch shows up to mooch.
Oh, hey there, guys!
He was one of those characters that when he showed up, I was like, oh, I'm going to hate this guy, but he was just funny.
He's
so I thought you were going to say, and I was right. In the world of the original, Waiting for Godot, he's the Potso character.
Yes, he is.
I think I need to see
Waiting
for Godot.
We'll watch it at some point.
There's an Ian McKellen Patrick Stewart out there that you can really enjoy.
Yeah, that I think you'll like that version. So.
I probably will. I mean, I like this, and if it's Waiting for Godot, then yeah. So Marvin's pee break is cut short as Ernie the Mooch shows up to mooch some bait, mooch some coffee, and attempts to mooch some food. The boys try to tell the mooch that they don't have any food, but the mooch sniffs out some venison jerky like a goddamn bloodhound.
What is that there?
He's just... and he goes to his leg and stuff, and
the blocking for that was a wild ride.
Yeah, I can imagine. So he's sniffs out the venison jerky that Marvin has in his pocket, and he, what was he pulls it? He's like, "Oh, you wouldn't like this. It's salty." He's like, "Really salty?" He's like, "Oh, well then you won't mind if I eat it." Nom, 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 nom. And then he's like, "I sure do wish I had a beer to wash this delicious venison jerky."
That Leinenkugel. Don't forget the Leinenkugel. The Leinies. You get a Leinie.
That's what Lineys are. Okay.
Oh,
Leinenkugels.
That's the beer?
Yeah, the one that we like the summer shandy of.
Oh,
yeah.
We had custom, we got like seltzer, and then the props team custom wrapped fake Leinenkugels onto it so that like Steve and Rick could just down beers throughout the course of the show. And that was why we had to take so many pee breaks, because they were putting away like 18 to 20 seltzers in the course of like a 90-minute show.
Oh
my
wow.
God.
Yeah. Gonna have to drain the old coffee pot from that.
Mm-hmm.
So Mooch then takes advantage of Lloyd and Marvin's kindness and cons a beer to save him from his choking of venison jerky. I think these two could get away with murdering Mooch and dumping him in the frozen lake, and no one would judge them. I sure wouldn't. We don't know what happened to the Mooch. He came over here, gave him some jerky and a beer, said, okay, bye, Mooch. And then he just disappeared. No one ever saw him again.
This week on Small Town Murder.
I think that's a Twin Peaks episode.
So the Mooch busts out a ukulele and sings about how nothing changes and the past is just like now, but if you were to ask people from the past what the past was like, they wouldn't remember because they're too old. Something to that extent.
I honestly don't remember a single thing about this song. I know that Paul played the accordion. I don't remember the notes. I don't remember the words. I have no this is a fever dream to me.
This song was probably my least favorite, and it was over the quickest, and then it just kind of goes away, so it's not all that important. But the Mooch gets ready to leave, but he stops to give his condolences to poor Lloyd, on account of the wife leaving to stay with the in-laws. Lloyd inquires how the hell Mooch found that out, and Mooch explains that he just put two and three together, you know.
2 and 3 together there.
People have been seeing Beth's vehicle outside the front of her parents' place, and they've been seeing Lloyd at the grocery store stocking up on them TV dinners he eats when Beth goes out of town. Only Beth didn't go out of town. Oh, God. I apologize to Wisconsinites everywhere for me, but also... you brought this upon yourselves.
They did.
Marvin tells the Mooch that he's on thin ice. I put no thin ice. Fuck you, Warren. Mooch sees the burning anger inside of Lloyd's eyes and makes the wise decision to fuck off elsewhere. After the Mooch leaves the shack, Lloyd confides in Marvin about his marital troubles. Beth's been unreasonable lately, really just your typical irrational woman. Lloyd took a test in a magazine to see how awesome he was, and he got a 1 out of 10, on account that he always puts the toilet seat down. Good to know, Kay, that I also at least have 1 out of 10, just based on Lloyd's test results. Lloyd goes on to say that Beth got mad over their anniversary, but she was just unreasonable and didn't agree that it wasn't Lloyd's fault that the Packers versus Bears game had to be on the same day as their anniversary. They're just really lucky that her dad died so that he could get the tickets. Beth is really being selfish in this whole matter, because Lloyd's been following the Packers for 30 years, and he's only been following Beth for 7.
Oh my God, I forgot that that's a line, and that is so funny.
It's a no-brainer, really.
Oh my God, I forgot about that line, and that line is so funny.
I love it. Lloyd laments that after all they've been through, it came down to the Packers that broke them up. That was probably one of my favorite scenes, just him being like, just how how this dense motherfucker, like the character doesn't realize that.
I told her that we should be happy that her dad died. God, what a great, it's such a great sequence of events.
It's so funny because it starts off bad and then it just gets worse, and the way that it gets worse is so funny.
I talk about how, like, this is now Ned's soapbox hour. I talk about how, like, theater has the opportunity to, like, change hearts and minds everywhere. And part of it is, like, you have to allow shows whose exist to only be entertaining have little moments that, like, matter. And so, like, in All Shook Up, for instance, I talk about, like, that show's fluffy and weird, but at the very end, they have this conversation where, like, the parental figures announce they're in love, and it's an interracial couple, and the audience has to go like, yes, we're rooting for them. And then 10 seconds later, the teenagers who are an interracial couple announce they're in love. And when I did that show in the Midwest, people gasped. But like 10 seconds earlier had gone, "Aw," for the same thing, but adults. And then like in that moment, they have to go like, wait, if I was cool with that, I have to be cool with this. And it's in that exact moment, the Elvis character announces that he's in love with a man. Now, the audience knows that like that man is actually a woman dressed up as a man, and that's the joke. But like for a split second, this fluffy show with no purpose or like deep artistic meaning says like, if you were cool with like the 50-year-old interracial couple, you have to be cool with the teenage interracial couple. And by the way, if we all acknowledge interracial couples are cool, let's talk about gay people. And it's it's like a really smart progression of events. And I feel very similarly about this moment because everyone laughs at this. Everyone finds it funny that Lloyd is so fucking dumb. But like I was watching this show and it was like the audience for this show is not the audience for your general musical theater. And in that moment, you have these men who stereotypically might think this way laughing at Lloyd, and they get to shine a quick mirror on themselves and be like, wait a minute, like, do I think that way? Everyone's laughing at that guy. Like, it's a smart piece of writing for very small hearts and minds changes that I like a lot.
Absolutely.
I could not agree with what you said more. Like, that is, you so perfectly put.
Yes.
And now I really want to see All Shaken Up.
All Shaken Up is very worth it. Great show. One of my favorite pieces of musical theater.
Fantastic. That's excellent. I'm looking forward to when we do that one.
Yes.
But yes, no, just exactly what you're talking about. Just it should try and change hearts and minds. Any art that is worth its salt, period, should be trying to alter your perception in some way.
Yeah.
Whether it's big and deep and dramatic or tiny little incremental things like you're talking about. So
yeah.
But I did love that how you get Lloyd initially he's talking about just how unreasonable his wife is, that she wants him to pay attention to her, basically, and have their marriage be some type of priority in his life. And then you get to see him have that flip later on where he realizes that his wife is
important. We'll talk about that song when we get there.
Yes.
We'll have a long conversation about that piece.
So Lloyd starts to sing, using fish as an allegory for women, and how he's seen a pretty tale or two. But because he didn't properly bait the hook, she got away. And now she's out there, swimming free. So for the time being, Lloyd will sit here, waiting for a tug on his pole. I mean, don't we all, fellas, just sit around waiting for someone to tug on our pole? Ha 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 ha. Oh, I am nothing if not 3 dick jokes in a trench coat. So... Lloyd's song
is... Guys on Ice, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Lloyd's song is sad because it sounds like he misses his wife, even though he doesn't quite grasp that he fucked up. Marvin cheers up his friend by giving him some walleye, which I'm told is a fish, apparently.
Yes.
It's a good fish because Lloyd bites into it and he exhales with a fish-faced ecstasy. They say fish oil is good for your brain, which causes Lloyd to ask Marvin if fish feel pain. Marvin says no, and explains that if you can't think, you can't feel pain. All fish do is eat, mate, and swim away from bigger fish. Marvin is also upset about his job at the plant, that even a fish could do, apparently. I mean, if a fish had hands and could breathe air, Marvin sometimes wishes that he was a fish. Lloyd makes Marvin feel better by sharing some of his fish, but it was frozen previously, so it's kind of rubbery. But that's just the way Marvin likes it. Some of them going on and on about fish definitely went over my head because I'm just like, well, it's not salmon, so I don't care. So...
Sure.
Are you a big fish guy?
I am from the fishery of the United States of America, West Coast. You're wrong. It's not you. New England. And so, yes, huge fish guy over here.
So what's your favorite fish?
My favorite fish is probably a salmon, but I'll be honest, I'm actually a shellfish guy. Like, my favorite meal in the world is steamed Maine clams.
Yes.
Yeah, Kay's big into shellfish. Like, I like shellfish too. We don't get it a lot because it's expensive and I want to buy it.
And you're landlocked. I don't know if you knew that about you.
Yeah, it's
hey, stuff gets delivered. I mean, it's not fresh caught that fresh day, but
yeah. Though on the West Coast they do have sand dabs, and those are delightful.
I don't know what that is. I'm
They're
sure it's
like-
not worth my time.
They're so the only way to eat them is fried because, well, they're not fried, like deeply battered, but just sort of pan fried.
Okay.
You can have them with like gravy and sauce and stuff, but that just tastes like gravy and sauce. But there was a fisherman's wharf in Monterey Bay. It is not the commercial one. It is the actual one that, because my mom and I took a wrong turn. And it's in this little dive bar, and they sell sand dabs, and they're just these little flounders almost.
Huh.
But it's so good. I couldn't eat enough of them. When we can travel again, we need to go there.
So Ned, you're from the lobster roll capital, right?
I am from the lobster capital of the world.
Yum.
So do you appreciate a good lobster roll?
I do. I make a good lobster roll.
Ooh.
I don't even really. Lobster roll is like chopped up lobster over a roll, right?
Oh, man, rough. That's hard to hear.
Hey, I'm landlocked. Remember?
There's two ways to eat a lobster roll: warm and cold. Warm is really with butter and lemon on a roll, and then cold you have it with your mayo, and like I usually put some celery in there and some paprika and a little bit of spice and stuff like that. But so cold is more like the same way you would kind of prepare it, similar to a chicken or a tuna salad, but with less, so that the lobster's the main thing. And then warm, it's really just lobster meat, butter, a little bit of lemon.
Now I want a lobster roll.
Right?
Yeah. It's a good thing to want, good thing to eat.
So jealous. I hate being landlocked.
You know,
I'm
Ned,
staring at the main ocean, so there you go.
We bring Ned onto the show, and all he does is peddle his pro-fish propaganda, about...
Yep, we need your money. That's our pitch.
Oh, God damn it. I love you, Ned. Okay, so the two then launch into a song about how fish is the miracle food. It's even in the Bible. Jesus fed people with fish. It's proof that it's a miracle food. The miracle fish food song closes the first act.
Yeah, it does. I totally forgot how Act 1 ended. I've been sitting here trying to figure out. I remember how Act 2 starts, but I could never remember how Act 1 closes. The miracle food. That's true. What a great thing.
Yes.
It's the perfect song for Ned after coming from the fishery capital of the United States.
Oh, man. It's just what a shout out to that song.
I love that. I love that song.
We come back from the intermission with the weather report. It's still sack-shrivelingly cold outside. We see our boys in their shack, both a few beers in and playing cards, singing and telling jokes. The game they're playing, the card game, these two fishermen are playing. Can you guess it, audience? Can you guess the card game? I hate that I didn't guess it right away because it's so perfectly obvious. They're playing Go Fish, eh?
It's such a good joke.
Oh, I felt like such a schmutz. Like, I'm sitting here like, oh no, are they playing poker? Are they playing, like, what are they playing? And then I'm just like, you dumb shit. Of course they're playing Go Fish. This whole show is about fish and puns. Marvin and Lloyd realize that it's a freckle past a hair, and Cubby, the TV man, is pretty late meeting them. Marvin figures Cubby got held up at the bait shop, and Lloyd hopes that he didn't eat any of the bait shop's ass blaster chili, since it's a bit snug in that shack and they all might die of methane poisoning otherwise. I think that Lloyd and Marvin are getting a bit of cabin fever. As they ponder where the camera will get set up in the shack, Marvin talks about people who embarrass themselves on Cubby's show have never been on since, and how he's worried that he might embarrass himself. Marvin and Lloyd go back and forth, threatening to tell embarrassing stories to Cubby. Lloyd then launches into a song about murder and why he shot his buddy Marvin with a 30-06, because Marvin got too big for his head once he became a big TV star. The two reconcile after the song and do some normal hetero-male bonding by slapping one another on the stomach. The two then challenge each other to Wisconsin sumo combat. Before the bloodshed could truly begin, a knock on the door makes him think that Cubby is finally here. But no, It's the return of the mooch. He's here to borrow a cup. He's here to return a cup that he had borrowed, pilfered bait in, and to steal some more of their beer. The mooch thanks them and launches into a trombone song about what's theirs is his and what's his is theirs. When the song ends, the mooch then informs the guys that he heard on the radio that Cubby, the celebrity fisherman, you know Cubby, the one that they've been waiting for the whole show, the one that Marvin has his future dreams hung up on. Well, that Cubby, he died. He's dead. Died in a tragic snowblower accident. I mean, the snow sucks, but dying like that sure does blow. Marvin is bummed, understandably, because now he'll never be popular enough to bang Bonnie. And Lloyd contemplates his own mortality and how death can come at any moment, like a hook, descending from above to yank you away to the great beyond.
Is that your last day on Earth? Is that what that song is? There's a song that I remember, Your Last Day on Earth.
Yes, it is.
Is this where that goes?
I believe so. Kay says it is, so
I'm pretty sure it was.
I'm also pretty sure the song I really wanted to talk about later in the show was the moment you were talking about, which is the song he sings. The chorus is, "You'll never know until she's gone how much you loved the ground she floundered on." And I remember learning that song and being like, "Come on, man, you can't put a fish pun in the only heartfelt moment in the show. You can't. I need you to not do it." I was so angry. Like every time I'd be singing it, "She floundered on," and my immediate instinct was to be like, ugh. So anyway, I love that song going back a few minutes, and I wish that they hadn't decided to put floundered in the middle of it.
Oh, come on, Ned. You're a fish man. You want flounder in all things.
No, I don't. I'm comfortable with that. No.
You know what, Warren? Fuck you in your opinion.
I'm shutting that shit down. How fucking dare you?
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, after the two men finish their contemplation of the fragility of mortality song, Lloyd inquires if Marvin would like his ticket to the Packers game on Sunday, and if he would like to ask Bonnie to the game, cause he, Lloyd, has an anniversary to make up to Beth. Lloyd gives his ticket to Marv, who blubbers his thanks to his friend. The two crack open some beers and toast to Cubby, the recently departed. Lloyd then inquires to Marvin if he thinks that there is ice fishing in heaven. The two follow the logical conclusion that if hell is molten and hot, heaven must be cold. And Jesus is in a snowmobile suit, waiting for everybody at the pearly gates. And every Sunday is Packers Sunday. And 40 pounds overweight is considered skinny. Oh, hell yeah, I'm down for that part. Oh, there are only 50-pound fish in heaven. And I kind of flubbed that, but I'm still... My throat hurts from laughing, so thank you, Ned.
Yeah, I got you, boo.
Marvin and Lloyd start packing up their gear, getting ready to head home, and sing about how life only lasts for but a moment, until you've no more bait in your bucket.
No more bait in your bucket, dare.
No more bait in your bucket, dare. We see the two leave the shack, and an undisclosed amount of time later, Marvin calls Lloyd to shoot the shit. Then Lloyd tells Marvin that he's slowly patching things up with his wife. He got her some flowers, took them to the in-laws, and his wife even got teary-eyed when he told her that he gave the tickets away to Marvin. And the guy... Marvin then says that the guy with the Packer tickets never has to ask a woman twice, eh? He's only a Packers game away from getting to see Bonnie's special hidden tattoo, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. The two close the show with a fun fish joke. Marvin tells Lloyd that he caught a 50-pound trout. Lloyd does one better, says he caught a lantern, but when he pulled it out, it was still lit. Marvin has a moment of contemplation before saying, "Tell you what, I'll take 15 pounds off the trout if you blow out the lantern." And the two laugh and laugh before going, "Yeah," and closing out the show. So, I don't get the boasting thing about, like I guess I do get the, like, I caught a fish that was
this big.
16
you do it with
feet
your hand.
long.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's doing like that, but at the moment of Marvin's, I don't know if it was puzzlement or what when Lloyd tells him that he caught a lantern that was still lit when he pulled it out of the water, because I don't know if Marvin believed him or if he's like, he's calling me on my shit, eh?
It's the latter, right? Like,
Yeah,
the whole
it's
joke is like,
totally-
I caught a 50-pound trout, and Lloyd's over here like, all right, bullshit. If you caught a 50-pound trout, I caught a lantern that came out of the water lit. And that's when
Yeah.
Marvin's like, fine, I'll call it a 35-pound trout if you don't say it was a lit lantern.
Yes.
I don't think I've had enough heteronormative male bullshit bonding where you like,
Oh, I'll give you all sorts of it. That's like my love language.
well, it's just like I don't know. I don't know if you've heard the joke before, Kay, that if you ask a guy how many women he slept with, divide it by 3. If you ask a woman how many men she slept with, multiply it by 3, and that's the real truth.
I've heard that.
Yeah, it kind of seems like the same, because some of the friends that I've had that have been like, I've had sex with 300 women or whatever kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
So it's something along those lines, I guess. But oh my god, my
One
throat
thing
hurts.
one thing I want to bring up really quick, because I think I don't know if it's actually in the script or if it's just what we did, but during the game of Go Fish, they're playing a drinking game.
Yes.
And they are pounding these cans of seltzer, which in our case went from full to empty, and they each had to finish 6 in the course of a song and sing without burping. And so they would finish it, and then they would toss it over their shoulder, and behind them was a net. And the game they were actually playing live on stage, like the stage management tallied for them, and it was a competition, was who could hit more cans in the net without looking.
That is awesome.
But and apparently that's how Steve normally does it, kind of in his productions around the state of Wisconsin. But when we did it, it was in the center of a theater in the round stage. So the revolve was slowly turning so the audience could see them over the course of the song. And if they threw it too hard, they'd just hit an old 85-year-old woman in the face. And so the stakes were so high because we would constantly, we would have full rehearsals where all 4 of us, or 3 of us, because Paul, who played the mooch, never played the game, had to come to the stage and practice the toss because, yes, sometimes they went into the audience and it just became like a fun souvenir from the show because it's not like we were going to refill the sealed cans. So we cycled them every night anyway. But if you threw it too hard, you were just hitting audience members, and this theater's audience is mostly made up of bus tours of old folks' homes.
Oh
and you just kill Marcia in the front row.
Tragedy of the blue hairs.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
And it was we'd be watching from the audience, and I would watch, and me and the stage manager would be on edge because we'd be like, will tonight be the night that Steve hits someone in the head and they have a heart attack? And we have to stop the show because we killed a guy.
I didn't even think about how that scene would work in a theater in the round.
I would pay
I loved
money.
that game, and I was like, oh, the way that they're doing it, are they just acting like this is important stakes? But
oh my god,
hearing
no.
that
We took
stage
it
management
so
is-
seriously.
Oh my god!
Every night there was in the post-show report, we would get an email on who won.
That is amazing.
I would pay. It's I don't know. My sick side of my brain hears that, and it's I want to see someone catch a can to the face. It's like going to NASCAR and wanting to see a wreck.
But
it's
the audience also loves it, right? Because they're not looking at the net; they're just tossing it over their shoulder. So every time they hit it, the audience is like, "Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
awesome! It's so exciting."
Oh my god! It's like a little mini game within the production. I love it.
Oh, I love that.
Guys on Ice,
miss
shout out.
theater.
People at home, Guys on Ice is 75 minutes long. It has I think 12 songs. It is very short, and if it's in your area, you should see it.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely worth seeing.
Yes.
I am still so surprised how much I enjoyed the show.
Me too.
Yeah.
I did not, it came recommended from you, of course. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, what's Ned gotten us into? Because
I don't apologize at all.
no, nor should you. Like, it's very fun and enjoyable. Because the last show that I shouldn't say the last show, but one of the shows that we had recommended to us by our mutual friend Ruckland was Scored, the hockey musical.
Oh God, he gave you Scored?
Yeah.
I'll give you better ones than Scored. I promise you I will never recommend anything to you that I truly can't support.
Well, I mean, it's fine. Like, please do, because that's the thing too. Is it's like I love seeing a show and talking about a great show.
Yes,
but
we cover the good, the bad, and the ugly of musical theater, so it's okay.
Can't just cover the glorious, wonderful things, because we need to warn people about the horrors of things like Scored. but I didn't know what to expect with the show. Guys on Ice, and then as it boots up, I'm like, okay, this is a small production, it's a small cast. What are we going to be getting into? And then
there will at least be passion.
There's so much good natured charm in it.
So much heart.
And I love that there was character growth,
yes.
And it just made me laugh. So it was a good palate cleanser from some of the other stuff we've done recently. So thank you, Ned.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I mean, for me, like, I think about this all the time as like, I am a member of the so-called liberal elite, right? Like, I live in Brooklyn, New York. I make content. I am a raging leftist. Like, I am everything that like the stereotype of like the not liberal elite hates. And I have a lot of trouble when people send art my way to consider being a part of or being in, where it's like I read it and I'm like, this is just something that like no one needs right now, because the only people who are going to like it already agree with you, and it's just belittling of those who don't. And I read these scripts all the time where they're like, well, this is a show that really shows what artists are. And I'm like, this is a show that like theater people from New York can like jerk themselves off to, but it doesn't actually help anyone. And this is like the perfect example of the antithesis of that. This show has more heart than like 90% of like blockbuster musicals. It doesn't need to be anything more than it is, and it never wants you to expect it to be. And I find that so damn charming inside a show that like I love to make fun of, because at the end of the day, like I get to forever say I earned my equity card in Guys on Ice, the 3-person musical adaptation of Waiting for Godot, as told through Wisconsin ice fishermen. And I say that and people are like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. And I'm always like, it kind of is, but also it's really charming.
It's it's so unexpected. And I think that's kind of where it catches you. And it really goes to show that small and quaint and very esoteric can still be appealing to people who, because I was thinking like I didn't get a lot of stuff because I'm not from Wisconsin and I'm not a fisherman and all this stuff, but I still found it incredibly entertaining and enjoyable. And I would definitely recommend it to other people. Even just be like, hey, it's a silly musical. Like, it doesn't take itself seriously. It doesn't expect the audience to it doesn't expect anybody to expect too much from it. It very much knows what it is, and it's like, we are what we are. You can like us, you cannot, but we are what we are. And I do think it's funny that you were talking about that the script is so locked that they're just like, no, you cannot make changes. But because I do agree with you.
That is something I do love to make fun of. Like, at the end of the day, like, this is not the show you get to die on the artistic integrity of. I love this show, but it is not the show to be like, you may not update these jokes. Like, come on. This show is irreverent, and it really,
Or like how you're saying, like, they won't let you, they won't let people update it for other regions, to make it accessible to the nuances of that culture wherever it's being put
Write
on.
it about the Patriots and you can make twice as much money in New England.
Like but the same kind of thing. They're like, nope, this is what it is. It doesn't need to be anything more than it is. And there is a certain amount of respect to be given to people who have that strong of conviction to their product, you know.
And
I should
yeah,
say.
and shout out to
Yeah.
just the free advertising for Leinenkugel.
Absolutely.
We are big. We're big in free advertising here on Tone Deaf.
Yes,
We'll talk about
very
what we're
free.
eating, what we're drinking, what we're playing, what we're watching.
This episode was sponsored by Canada Dry Ginger Ale.
And well, it's not sponsored.
This episode has a free plug for Canada Dry Ginger Ale. Please
Yeah.
bring Bold to Utah.
Yeah, and Dr. Pepper.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I loved having you on. Ned.
Yes.
Thank you
thanks
so much for
having
joining
us.
us.
so much.
We need to find another show to have an excuse to bring you back.
Yes.
Dr.
absolutely.
Horrible's sing-along blog.
Yes, we have to do that one. Yes. And we will bring you back for that one.
Thank you. I
Because-
played Dr. Horrible in college, and I would love to talk about it.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Awesome.
Oh, Ned, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
I have so much.
Yay.
Hey everyone, I'm Ned. You can find me at Ned Donovan everywhere. There is another Ned Donovan. He's a relatively famous British journalist. He's not me. But I got all the Ned Donovan handles before he blew up. So, sucks to suck, I guess. So at Ned Donovan on all the handles. My flagship project is a podcast called Encounter Party. We are 6 professional voice actors battling through an epic Dungeons and Dragons campaign written by a playwright and novelist that's then professionally edited to focus on story and character and deliver you pure adventure in under an hour episodes. We've been featured by Nerdist, Sci-Fi, Gilding Light. We were interviewed by the official Wizards of the Coast podcast. We are currently working on some really cool stuff for the future, including a new video version of our show. And come check us out. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts or at encounterparty.com. Additionally, I'm the co-founder of Charging Moose Media. We are the producers of things like The Hunted Encore, which have been seen on this show, and our podcast At the Table, a play reading series, which produces new plays from emerging playwrights as audio dramas with Broadway actors. You can find that wherever you listen to podcasts. We are currently between seasons, and I have no idea when another one will exist. But there's a good back catalog for you to check out.
Awesome.
That is
Thank
fantastic.
you.
And if you want to, I don't know, if you want to harass Ned, he's also a part of the Cast Junkie Discord.
Oh yeah,
family.
come say hey
Yes.
on Discord.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can drop in and be like, "Oh my God, Ned Donovan, I want to wear your skin like a suit."
I feel very weird now.
See? That's what I'm here for. We don't get those wonderful moments of Warren without Warren, because Ned's incredibly knowledgeable about musical theater. You're incredibly knowledgeable about musical theater. I'm the uncultured chud. I've got to bring something to the table, and awkward is what I do best.
Please
Skin
don't
suit
wear
is the
him
thing?
as a suit.
Yeah. Also, Warren, shout out to you, but I think thank you for the compliment, but I'm 100% sure your skin looks better than mine. So just keep wearing your own, brother.
Why, thank you, Ned.
You're so
Aw,
welcome, boo.
Thank you so much.
We've really enjoyed having you on, and we look forward to the next time that we get to grace our ear holes with your wonderful voice.
Absolutely.
I look forward to bringing my voice to your ear holes.
Yay.
Maybe other holes. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say
What?
no more.
Warren, I won't talk into your butt.
I say find yourself Utah way and bring your pole, and we can go and explore in some other
I
holes.
will not be there talking about your dare holes dare.
Oh my hell.
I don't know about you there, Warren, but I think that is just a little bit too far there.
It's Warren's motto.
I got him. Yeah,
He's also stalling because he does not want me to say what we're watching next.
Oh my God,
That-
what are you watching next?
That may or may not be true.
Wait, I'm very excited. What are you watching next?
So in order to make the Warrens episode 100, we're doing an extra episode for the month of December.
Okay.
And we almost got out of watching this because we don't have live TV, but Hulu, in all of its wisdom, made available on streaming the Grinch musical.
Oh no. Okay, I'm going to stop. I love that musical. So many of my friends are in that musical. So many of my friends have made their career on that musical. I have a very soft spot in my heart for that musical. Don't make Warren's 100th show be that, please.
Oh, no. The Warrens is going to be the 100th. This will be episode 98.
Oh, okay, great. Warren, then suck it up, Buttercup.
So that, okay. So we've watched it and recorded it. Hasn't been released yet, but I need to know Ned's opinion about the Grinch musical, because
the musical or the production that you saw?
Well, I mean, the production we saw was
a nightmare.
Yes. And during the course of our recording, it came up that this has to exist better somewhere else for it to have come to NBC and been a production. So, Ned, what do you know about the Grinch musical?
I mean, lots. It's a beloved national tour. Goes out every year, along with the Elf musical. It's usually kind of playing in tandem. It is a wonderful show that has employed a lot of people that I dearly love, and a lot of people that I know have had absolutely incredible career-changing moments and personal moments within and around that show. I've never been in it. I've seen it a couple times. I'm fine on it. I don't love musicals that the point is to point out how much you loved the original. Like, that doesn't really interest me usually. So adaptations I'm wary of. It either needs to make itself its own or I'm going to be annoyed. But I don't hate the musical. I will say honestly and truthfully, I did not care for the production that you saw. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. That's what I was hoping for. I was hoping that the production we saw was an outlier and not
should not be
the standard.
It wasn't, and I say this lovingly, it wasn't for you. Like, and I think that's something that's really hard for me to grasp around a lot, is like, a lot of times I see things I'm like, I didn't care for that. And I have to remember, like, I also wasn't the intended audience. I think that's true of the production you saw. Like, that was pointed at a very specific subsection of America that isn't us.
Fair.
Do I think that makes it good? No. I'm just saying, like, I also didn't care for it, but part of it is that I wasn't the intended audience.
I have issues with some of the creative liberties that are taken using a character as a narrator and poor delivery of rhyming lines. And yeah, when Kay and I talk about it, it basically boils down to we would have loved to love it, but we didn't.
Especially because I'm a big Dr. Seuss fan.
Sure.
A very big Dr. Seuss fan.
Okay, but at least I'm glad to know that...
I'm glad to know it exists better.
It exists better elsewhere.
Uh-huh.
So that's
because somehow it's never come here.
That's honestly
like
very
killing you,
surprising.
Yeah, at least I have never seen anything, like, even...
You tend to be on, like, all the notifications for when shows are coming to...
Yeah, and I've never seen... I saw Elf here, but not the Grinch, and I don't know why. I don't know why Utah doesn't get the Grinch.
Well, if anything, well, you know, I know why. Because Utah doesn't want to have a very diverse cast. So if that comes to Utah, they're like, what? Interracial couples? No!
I mean, that was probably just the casting for the production that we saw, but...
I know, I just like taking shots at the state, so...
Fuck you, Utah! Why don't you move? I can't!
Alright, so...
But thank you.
Thank you so much, Ned, for dealing with my insanity.
Thank you for having me, y'all. You took me down memory lane of a good 5 years, And a lot of things happened in my life, like right after I did this show. And it's sort of in this weird fever dream section where I'm like, is that really like, as I said, I showed up in Wisconsin on a 10-week production of The Wizard of Oz at the beginning of February. And I ended up leaving at the end of July, 3 shows later, including Guys on Ice. So it's just sort of like this wild, like I thought I was going to be gone for 2 months and it turned into 6 very quickly. That, is really a fond memory for me, but this is a show that I had forgotten a lot about because I also just wasn't in it, right? So I knew it at the time, but it wasn't like ingrained in my bones. So when I left, I'd never performed the show. I never did it. Like it was just such a different experience for me professionally.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
That's so cool, though.
I grew a beard for that show, but one of the characters was clean shaven. So the rule was like, I kept the beard in case I went on for 2 of them. And if I had to go on for the 3rd, I had to shave and then we'd figure it out.
You save the shavings and then you can just glue them back on if you need to play.
Yeah, that was a conversation point for sure.
Spirit gum beards are a nightmare.
Especially in the round.
Yes.
All right, Ned. Well, I think that we will bid you farewell and let you go enjoy your football Sunday.
I'm going to go watch the New England Patriots with a beer. It will not be a Leinenkugel.
Oh, thank you again so much for coming on. We had a great time.
Yeah.
And we will see the return of Ned for Dr. Horrible's sing-along down the road at some point.
Yes, at some point. All right, so I think that'll be it for this week then. So, I'm Kay.
I'm Warren.
I'm Ned.
This has been Tone Deaf.